Okay, this is the specimen paper for OCR. The first section consists of 15 multiple choice questions, so I'm going to do them in 3 sets of 5. And this one's going to start from question 1 to question 5. Question 1 asks, which of the following is an example of current expenditure by governments? Governments can engage in 2 different types of expenditure. It can be current expenditure and capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is on capital that they have for long term. So if we look at these, we've got aircraft carriers, which would be capital, motorways, capital, investment in additional offshore wind farms, capital. So these top 3 are capital, which means that we can cancel them off. Current expenditure is just expenditure by the government on goods and services and just by getting by. So D, the salaries of National Health Service employees, would be an example of current expenditure by governments. So the answer for question 1 is D. Now we can move on to question 2. Question 2 asks, which of the following explains why the rate of nominal GDP growth is difficult to measure accurately? It is difficult to account for changes in A, purchasing power parity, B, the price level, C, the size of the population, D, unrecorded activity in the economy. All of these top 3 are quite easy to measure. We can see purchasing power parity, the price level by just observing prices in the economy, and the size of the population by censuses when new babies are born. They have to be registered and stuff like that. But what is hard to know is the size of the unrecorded economic activity, known as the shadow economy, the black economy. It's just where there's cash in hand, people don't pay tax, people don't record it to HMRC, they don't let them know. So there's no way of really getting an accurate measure of this. Some people have estimated it around 4% of GDP, others 8%, others 10%. So it's really hard to know how this shadow black economy is how big it is and how it is changing over time. So the answer for this question is D. The table below shows the number of labour hours daily that 2 countries need to produce 1 unit of each of the 2 goods. Other factors of production are used in equal quantities in the 2 countries. So that means that both of the other countries, for the other factors of production, are exactly the same. They require the same amount of these factors. So we've got country X and we've got country Y, and we've got our 2 goods, which is rice and coffee. So 2 countries and 2 goods. But we don't know what the value of coffee is. Country X has a comparative advantage in coffee. That means that it needs relatively less labour to produce coffee than country Y does. What is the missing number from the table? A, 6, any number less than 6. C, 20. D, any number greater than 20. So to start off with, we'll just work out what if these countries were the same, what the relative labour requirement for coffee would be. So assuming that in relatively wise, rice needs the same labour as coffee does. So we do 4 divided by 20, which gives us the relative difference between for rice, and then we times that by 30, which gives us a value of 6. So if our countries were the same relatively wise, country X would need 4 labour units to produce rice and 6 to produce coffee. Y would need 20 to produce rice and 30 to produce coffee. But we know that country X has a comparative advantage in coffee. That means that country X needs relatively less labour to produce coffee. So that means that the labour requirement would be less than 6, which is B. Any number less than 6. It would not be, if it was A, then the relative labour requirements would be equal. It would be 6. it's not C, and it's not a number greater than 20. So that's question 3 answered. So now we can move on to question 4. Which one of the following is a leakage from the circular flow of income? A leakage is anything that leaves the circular flow of income. An injection is anything that goes into the circular flow of income. So, which one of the following is a leakage from the circular flow of income? Exports will be an injection, because if there's exports, then there's more going around in the economy, so it's not going to be exports. Government spending is also an injection, because it's money going into the economy. And investment is also an injection, because money is going around the economy, firms are investing, so it's not going to be C. So that means it must be D, because savings are actually money that's being taken out. As individuals take an income, they save a certain percentage of this income, and that's money that just moves out the economy. It doesn't continue on its circular flow round. We can measure the savings by looking at the marginal propensity to save. That's the percentage of someone's additional income that they will choose to save. Yeah. Okay, now we're on to question 5. Question 5 asks, an appreciation in the value of a country's currency will lead to A, a rise in government spending. No, it will not change government expenditure. A rise in the rate of inflation. If a country's currency increases in value, there will be an increase in imports, because imports are now relatively cheaper, and a decrease in exports. If there's a decrease in imports and firms use a lot of imports to create their goods, then actually there'll be a decrease in cost push inflation. And if there's less exports, there will be a decrease of demand pull inflation. So that means that both of these effects will have an effect of decreasing the inflation rate of the economy. So it's not B. A rise in unemployment. If we're importing more and exporting less, actually it will cause a rise in the unemployment. I read that wrong. It's actually a fall in the rate of unemployment, so that's wrong. So the answer will be D, which is what I said, a fall in the price of imports for that country. Because the value of our country's currency is higher, we can buy more, we get more of a foreign currency, which means that we can buy more of their goods. So the answer to this question is D.